While we have in studio today Engineer Michael Kamau. He is the Cabinet Secretary in charge of transport and infrastructure. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Now, given what you know as the fundamental needs in your particular docket,
yes,
is this 125 billion shilling figure or allocation justified? And also, are you satisfied with it, knowing what you would need to tackle?
Yes, nobody ever has enough money for what they need. But it's very significant that for the first time the government has put in 22 billion Kenya shillings to start the new standard gauge railway from Nairobi to Kisumu. And that is very, very significant, considering that there has been no investment in the railway sector in terms of development from the 1800 when the railway was completed. What we are seeing is a rehabilitation by RVL, but this is a completely new line. So very significant, very important.
It is a huge amount. Were you at all expecting to be allocated such a big amount? And what will some of your key priorities be in terms of expenditure?
Number one, the railway tops everything. Number two is a continued program, intensive program on road construction. We still haven't connected ourselves to our neighbor, South Sudan. We are still yet to go to Mandera, Taita Taveta, the road to Tanzania, and lastly the completion of the Northern Corridor. So we are doing that on the roadworks. We have a lot of work to do at the port. Lapset, now at least we have money to start the 3 berths, the 3.7 billion, and we had received an allocation this financial year. So we are going to start now in earnest Lapset program by building the 3 berths.
And of course, you've just mentioned the 3.2 billion shilling figure. When it comes to the ports, of course, this will open Kenya to the world, to the region and to the world. Break down the 125 billion allocation to exactly how much will go to developing our ports.
The ports, basically, we did about, we've had a continuous process of the port. Let's say Mombasa. Mombasa, we have continually improving the port. We are building the second container terminal, which is progressing very well. We are going to build the Dogokudu bypass because it is needed to extract some of the goods from the container terminal. The Lamu port is going to have 3.7 billion, specifically dedicated for the new port. A lot of investment, and there is money which is off budget, which is raised from revenues by KPA itself and reinvested back to the port. It's like the Kenya Airports Authority. Their budget is not here, is not included, because they raise revenue which they plow back into their projects. So there's a lot of money which is even not on the budget for infrastructure development.
What are some of your key concerns with regard to your docket? What concerns you most about infrastructure and transport in this country?
The usage of our infrastructure, the roads especially. Vandalism is a very big concern, and we really have to clamp down on it. The use of the ports. I told people in Mombasa that I'm not going to superintend over a port that is going to be a museum in the next 20 years. And therefore we have to have a complete change of mindset. The silo mentality within the people who operate within the infrastructure docket has to change. We have to be seamless, which is our theme, seamless connectivity.
Well, how do you intend to change that mindset? Just in this past week, we have heard of numerous deaths on the road as a result of accidents, car accidents, matatus, etc., across the country. What are you going to do to encourage some sense of discipline on the roads? We have a lot of people talking about the Mishuki rules and how that phased out, and we're losing lives daily. What are your concerns about that, and what do you intend to do with regard to transport and infrastructure?
Number one, the National Transport Authority has come into force, and we are getting a Director General for it, and we are getting a lot of support even from KRA. New licenses which can be withdrawn because there will be electronic licenses that can capture data on the number of accidents, and they are combined with insurance. So we have a software platform that is going to solve most of our problems. So the death, I can tell you that we are going to deal very firmly in a manner that is sustainable, not just a one-off. We must have cooperation of all government departments, which is critical. And that is why I'm saying The hallmark of this government will be breaking down silo mentality. I should not come here and blame the police. The police are part of the government. So we want to end the blame game. For example, the way bridges, we've been blaming the police. Yesterday I learned that the police are not responsible for the mess that has been at Mariakani. They are waving all the vehicles, and I congratulated them for that. So what we need is facilitation. We are going to get budgetary provision from our own budget to facilitate traffic police in some of these areas if the money from other government departments is not forthcoming. So we want to be very facilitative. The mindset of Kenyans has to change. Otherwise, things will be very different. Our neighbors are moving very fast. They have more resources than ourselves, more mineral resources, oil and other things. We are driven by service, courtesy, and we cannot be, like for example, tourism. It's driven by courtesy. We need to see that courtesy everywhere.
When we talk about courtesy, there isn't that much courtesy, especially in the public transport sector, and especially when you're trying to bring some order, semblance of order in, for instance, the matatu industry. There comes the interference of politics in this. How, going forward, will we ensure that it will be streamlined, especially when you come to decongesting urban centers in any way? Of course, now we're going to devolution in different centers across the country. How will we streamline this industry of public transport?
Well, number one, I'm not a politician. My constituency is given to me by the president with very clear mandate on what he wants me to do. I have no fear of losing any constituency seat. I'm sitting just the way I was sitting in the office like a permanent secretary, from morning up to evening. So we expect that there will be more focus, a lot of focus. And really, I think Kenyans are very good people because they obey the law. And that is what I'm going to help them to do. We are going to deal very fairly with people of goodwill. And we are going to be very firm with people who are bent on breaking the law. It's that simple. It cannot be business as usual. We are going to rein in on these people. Take it from me.
All right, some firm words there. And just briefly, what is your overall view of the budget? What were some of the key surprises for you? Did anything shock you, or were you pleased with it overall?
Well, I'm in cabinet and I had an insight to most of the things. But what is very pleasing is the things that we are seeing in energy. 78 billion invested in energy, geothermal development, power transmission from Ethiopia, feeding of the children, 2.6 billion for school feeding programs in ASAL areas so that the children can be kept in school. It may mean nothing to some people, but it is everything, just like the free primary education. It came on board, and then we found so many kids. So sanitary towels for girls in secondary schools and primary schools. Very significant things that go to touch directly the lives of people. The funds for the youth, 6 billion of that available in a manner that is structured for people who could not raise funds for starting business. Those are things that are going to transform the lives of very many Kenyans. So it is a budget that resonates very well with the ordinary person and with somebody who has ideas but no money to drive his ideas forward.
But you can trust to have a lot of eyes and attention on your docket, especially how you're going to handle the allocation given. Thank you very much, Engineer Michael Kamau, for joining us.
Asante sana, and we are ready for it.
And we'll quote you on that.
Oh yes, please do.
Thank you for joining us tonight.